We're going to be making these covers to keep out debris, rocks, and mud to make cleanup easier, protect our Foglight wiring, plus give the back of our factory steel bumper with end caps removed a more finished appearance. You'll need a T45 star bit to remove these bumper end cap bolts. If you left the plastic flat, it's going to make contact, and there could be some rubbing here that could create wiring issues later. So I'm going to creatively make a bulge here. I'm hoping for about a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch clearance. I don't want to make it too big, you know, have some big round bulge sitting there, but I do want some clearance there. That way we don't run into wiring issues because we are trying to protect it. First, we've got to find the location center point of this bolt hole. This one, I think I'll try that one. And you want to leave some space, at least to minimize cutting over here against the frame rail. So here's the plastic that I'm going to use. And after I make the cuts, I'm looking to recess it so it should fit behind the bolt hole here, just like that. This is an M8 1.25 20 or 25 millimeter long body bolt that I got at Lowe's. You can see that it's got just a little bit of a point there. I'm going to use this like a transfer punch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in from the back side here and thread it all the way through until it just barely protrudes. I'm going to clamp the plastic on so it doesn't move, because I got to be able to smack it with a hammer down here and smack it with a hammer down there. And when I remove the clamps, take the plastic out, I'll know where to drill my holes. So the plan is to put this plastic here, and though I could use the bolt head to keep it from rubbing on the frame, since I plan to cut this plastic to where it will fit on the inside, not stick out past the edge of the bumper here, I need something to space it out. So what I'm going to do is use some double-sided tape. I'll stick it on this side of the bolt, just a line through here, just to pad it a little bit so I can keep that spacing, because I don't want this rubbing and knocking the paint off the frame and causing rust eventually. I ended up using 2 layers to get the spacing that I wanted. Then we're going to thread the M8 1.25 body bolts from the back. Real quick, one thing with these U-type clip nuts from the factory, they do come with thread locker on them, so it may feel a little tight early going in. I'm not saying you can't cross thread it, but more than likely it's the thread locker. So to make it easier, you can put it in through the front first until it comes all the way out the back, and then just take it off and run it through the back side then. And these M8 1.25 body bolts from Lowe's, they have a 13 millimeter head. I'm using a flex head ratchet. And you're just looking for them to protrude out just enough to make contact when we smack that spot with a hammer. Now just rest the 12 by 12 sheet of ABS plastic. Just rest it against the double-sided tape here. And on this lip down here, if you can see it, you will get all the way up this flat spot here and enough material when we start bending it with the heat gun to conform as a regular shape up in here. It'll be sealed off pretty well. I'll be happy with it if it does what I think it'll do. So next thing, we just need to clamp it in place. If you can make out the end of it, the first one is over here on this corner, and I'm going to try to put the other one down on the bottom. Okay, so I clamped it there on the bottom, and on this left side here, making sure it's up against the double-sided tape. When I smack it, we don't want to move it because we're trying to find the location, the center of the bolt holes. So in an effort to try not to mar up the plastic, because that's textured right here, I'm going to try to use this hammer right here. And that's up here. Okay, so that large mark right there, you can kind of make out the end of where the bolt was. And there's the other one. Now we just drill the holes. I did mark these passenger and driver so I wouldn't get them confused. Now take your bolts, bolt it in place. There's the passenger side and the driver's side. Now I'm just going to take a scribe and gently drag it on the edge, but push down pretty firmly to get an outline. This is just to get close. Now go ahead and remove a sheet. Now you need a compass. I'd prefer one that had metal on both ends, but I didn't have one, so I have to use a pencil with steel on the other side. It'd be nice if you could just scribe your circle, or arc actually. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure, let's see, I don't know if one of these is close or not. See, like this one, about the center of the hole there. Doesn't have to be exact. I mean, the better you can do, obviously, is great, but that's about the center. So the corresponding hole on your plastic, this hole on your plastic, you need to put this metal end on there. And what you're going to do is you're going to scribe it. Now back over here. Well, with my pencil broken, I'm going to have to guesstimate. It's okay. Bring this together, try to find the center right here. That feels like that's about right. Now back to the corresponding hole in your plastic. All right. We're gonna make an arc there. And where the two arcs intersect, that's going to be the center of your Foglight. Now you don't have to, but my older eyes need visual aid. Just put a little dot of paint about where the center is, where they intersect. So I wanted to give myself about a 1/4 inch extra. So I just adjusted this compass here and scribed a line following the original that I made. We're going to start over here and make this straight line cut. Straight-ish. All right. It's going to be tricky. I might have to just clamp it here and support it with my hand over here. All right, we're going to rotate it 90 degrees. I'm not going to be able to get all the way over here, so I'm going to have to reposition it again. First, I'm going to cut this excess off right here. It's pretty tough stuff. Again, going to have to support it on this outer edge that's going to bounce around. It's a little harder to see my line here with the light that I've got. Better to err on the side of missing it far away from your line and leaving more material than taking too much. It's rough. I expected to have to clean it up. We're going to work on the driver's side first, so I crank the wheel all the way to the left. Now we're going to bolt this panel in place. You can see here I've got some trimming to do, but better to have more than enough than not enough. So what I'll do is I'll get permanent marker and just kind of mark this edge where I need to trim just a little bit. Over here just a little bit, because before I start bending I want to try to get it as flush as possible. At least on these edges. These should be easy. Bottom looks good. Okay, so that does look better. I still have a little bit to take off. Right there, if you can make it out. Oh, and I decided to use a grease pencil because I had it and I could see it better. So I'm just coming along. And if I take any material off, I'm going slow. I'm not taking more than, say, 1/8 of an inch off each test fit. So, okay, that looks like it'll clear on the top. And then what we'll do is heat this up through here from the back side. Be careful, you've got paint in the area. I'm trying not to mess up the texture over here, and hopefully if I go slower it'll give time for the heat to transfer all the way through the thickness of the plastic. And I've got my welder's glove here, and I put a little bit of olive oil as a release agent, so just to make sure it doesn't stick if the plastic gets hot. Again, we're trying not to mess up the texture there, so let's try it out. I'm going to start up top here. Again, be careful. Stay away from your paint here. Your bumper should be fine, but I would try not to aim at it. This is awesome stuff to work with. This has some resiliency to it. Let me try to take some heat off. Get this over here. All right, so I've got another idea here. While this is warm, I'm gonna try to do a shape transfer technique on this. And put this down, and I'm gonna grab this mallet here, and right here on the edge, I'll smack it really good. That way I know where to cut. Hopefully it works. We'll see. You can kind of make out the abrasion marks where I was smacking it with a hammer. Okay, so even though I tried clamping it up here. I'm still getting maybe an 1/8 inch of movement. I want it to rest up against this inner bumper framing right here. So one last stitch effort. I'm gonna put some washers under the plastic here. Put the fastener in there, and that'll space it out. And then I'm gonna try to heat it through here. Hey guys, I was editing this video and the footage that I got, it's decent, but I felt like it drug on a little bit, so I'm gonna give you some cliff notes. So in summary, the most important steps are going to be locating and drilling accurately your bolt holes, locating and creating your dimple, and doing that while the sheet is actually flat still. Then you want to be accurate with following this edge. You want to scribe into the plastic the shape that you need all the way around. And then on this edge right here, I would leave about a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch extra plastic. The reason being, when we get to the molding stage, we're going to be covering a distance that's a little bit further, and you can't put plastic back if you take it off, obviously. So that's what I did, and that's what worked for me. You're going to be taking this panel on and off quite a few times, finding spots to trim. I would use a grease pencil or maybe a permanent marker. If you notice while it's flat, hey, I need to trim a little here, and you can see the edge, just mark the edge, the distance that it's not clearing. And you can go trim that off with a jigsaw or a rasp file. Rasp file worked great for taking small amounts off, maybe like up to a 1/16 of an inch. So if you don't have one, I'd recommend that. Now getting to the molding stage, you need to be deliberate with your heat application. You don't want to melt it and distort it to where it starts bubbling and everything. You're going to keep moving, but hold your gun about 2 to 3 inches away. More like 2 inches away. Yeah. And then work in 2 to 3 inch swaths. The inner framing runs about down to here. So seeing as we don't want stray heat going around here, distorting, warping the panel, then we want to angle the gun up about 2 to 3 inches away. We're going to kind of work back and forth in a small pattern here. And then it'll give you a warning when it's almost ready to mold. You'll start to smell it. So a little after that, it will become moldable, and then you're going to use a nice welding glove or a heavy-duty work glove, should work, leather work glove. Use the edge of the steel bumper as a guide, and make sure you don't push in further than you want when it gets moldable, because you might create a gap where there wasn't one, and then you'd have to take it back off, heat it up, bend it back out, and start over again. So use the edge of the steel bumper. It's getting hot. We're using that edge, just kind of running our fingers along it to make it flush and hold it up against the inner framing of the steel bumper. And then we're going to come over here. Come over here and do the other 2 to 3 inch section the same way. Then we're going to come back over here. We're going to start heating this up. Same way. And then you might find that you need to take it back off, trim off a little bit. You're going to do this a few times. And then work your way down. And then down about right here, if you used the flat of the plastic, which is what I did, you shouldn't need any, little if any, trimming down here. You'll probably do some trimming around here. And then I want to point out there's that plastic push pin behind the ABS right here. Again, be deliberate. Try not to put stray heat anywhere else. Just go around this pin, push firmly, until it feels like you're flush up against the inner framing of the steel bumper, and then work your way towards the frame horn. And that pretty much summarizes everything. Yeah, I just wanted to put that in there and let you guys know you can do this. It's not that difficult. There is a little bit of a feel factor to it. Next, I need to mark the bolt holes. And there's the bolt holes for my template. It kind of flaked on this board here. I wish I had another sheet of plastic that would have worked better. Okay, so that's the easiest way I could come up with. And what I'm going to do, I've got my smallest drill bit right here. And I am going to make one tiny little hole just so I know how to center the hole in the cardboard that I'm trying to make. And I'll show you what I'm trying to do. All right, I'm going to try to hold this where you can see it. This is the top, bottom, and keeping in mind the direction of dirt coming on the visible side, I'm going to try to start on one side of the hole slightly at an angle, and that should get me a reasonable center, and that way dirt won't come straight in. All right, so we've got our hole. I went in about 45-degree angle. Okay, here's the hole we made. Now it's time to break out the 3-inch hole saw. All right, we've caught the hole. I'm just going to support it on this side over here. Light pressure. All right, let's back up. Now I'm just going to take my rasp here and try to clean up the edges just a little. Now we're just going to line up the bolt holes here. I hope this helps, putting some bolts to hold it in place. All right. Those are those body bolts. Now we're going to clamp it, and I'm going to try to clamp it on the flattest spot here of the plastic. Hopefully between that and the bolts, it keeps things from moving. And I'm going to use this beer mug here because the diameter here is larger than the diameter of the depression that I'm trying to make in this. So what I'll do is I'll heat it up here. Hopefully this stands up, and I'll be able to use a softball centered on that dot and make my depression. That's the plan anyway. All right, it should be cooled off enough. You can see the ball stitching there. And a profile shot. I would actually prefer that this not protrude so much. This is a 3-inch diameter right here. If you use the same ball, I don't know that I wouldn't at least go down half an inch. See, half an inch on each side, something like that. So maybe like a 2-inch, 2.5. I don't know. It's up to you. I've got to run with it because I'm not starting all over. Because I am having the Foglight wiring harness come up above this bracket right here, I did make sure that I clearanced this area right here for it to pass through. And I've decided I'm gonna zip tie this and try to get it situated where it's on top of the bracket right through here, coming through this hole. There's that. So I did just go by feel and the tightness on the plastic. We're trying not to crack it over time as the plastic ages. So I want to be conservative on the torque spec. So going by feel, I think I'm going to try 60 inch-pounds. And with that low torque spec, I'm going to use this purple Loctite 222 MS. It's a low strength thread locker, and I don't know if it's coincidence or not, but I did find evidence of some purple thread locker on some of these bolts. And there's the final result for the passenger side. There were a couple of tweaks that I made to the process. I think it sped it up a little bit. What I would do is, after you've got your hole locations, before you start curving any of the edges in, go ahead and make your dimple. And make sure that you're very deliberate with your heat application. I was kind of far away because I was worried about melting it. This stuff's pretty tough. Yeah, I would get closer. That way you're not heating up the whole vicinity and distorting it. And that's why I think I got all the warping. This one has a little bit, but it's a lot better than the other side.